Hey, welcome back to Psychology. This is Chapter 13, Motivation and Emotion. And let's see if we can get our projector to work today. There we go. The psychology of motivation. Motivations can be analyzed as the needs and drives. Psychologists have developed several different theories of motivation, including instinct theory, drive reduction theory, humanistic theory, and sociocultural theory. So this section, the main idea is to study motivation and to explain why people behave the way they do. The questions you'll want to be able to answer at the end of this section is, what does psychology of motivation deal with, and what are the major theories of motivation? Motivation answers why people do the things they do. A motive is a stimulus that moves a person to behave in ways designed to accomplish a specific goal. Needs are a condition in which we require something we lack. Biological needs are filled to survive are oxygen, food, sleep. Psychological needs, not only necessarily based on deprivation and can be learned, achievement and self-esteem. Our drives, needs give of drives to drives, force that motivate us in an organism to take action. Our biological need for water gives us a rise to the thirst drive. Biological drives are experienced as psychological. Instinct theory. Instinct theory is behavior patterns genetically transmitted from generation to generation. It's also called fixed action patterns. Not all animals' behavior is purely instinctive. Some it's learned, and psychologists once believed all human action was instinctual, but today most don't believe that. Drive reduction theory. People and animals experience a drive arising for a need as an unpleasant tension. They learn to do whatever will reduce that tension, such as eating to reduce the hunger drive. Homeostasis is a tendency to maintain an internal state of equilibrium. Drive reduction theory does not explain all motivations. Humanistic theory. The humanists argue that humans are motivated by the conscious desire for personal growth and artistic fulfillment. In fact, they may outweigh our drive to meet more basic needs. Self-actualization is the need to become what one believes he or she is capable of being. Maslow believes that striving to become or do something meaningful is essential to human well-being as food. He created a hierarchy of needs from basic psychological to self-actualization. Basic physiological to self-actualization. Critics argue that hierarchy does not apply to everyone. The sociocultural theory, even if basic drives such as hunger are inborn, cultural experiences and factors influence the behavior that people use to satisfy those drives. So this is Maslow's hierarchy of need. You should memorize this chart because it's very valuable. Basically what we see here is at the bottom we have our physiological needs. We need to have food and water. We need a place that's safe and dry and out of the sun so that we can rest. We need to have protection from danger and security and stability. So once we find a place to stay, we want to find a place in a safer place where we're not going to be robbed or attacked by animals or something like that. Then after we've accomplished these two things, we can typically look for love and accepting and belongingness. So we look for other people to be friends with and to, gain acceptance that way. And then once we've achieved that, we can work on our achievement and our competence and recognition and respect for others. And then finally, we reach fulfillment of our potential, which is our self-actualization stage, this is where we seek out, we want to be the best at what it is we do. And so this is an important factor here as well. Section 2, we're going to talk about biological needs that focus on hunger. Biological needs such as hunger involve both physiological and psychological factors. Obesity has many causes, but also has many solutions. The main idea, biological needs such as hunger involve both physiological and psychological factors. So in this section, you need to be able to answer what are the components of the hunger drive and what causes obesity. The biological needs are based mainly on body tissue needs, such as the needs for food, water, air, regulation, and pain avoidance. They can be complex because they also involve psychological factors. The acts of chewing and swallowing provide certain sensations to help satisfy the hunger drive. The hunger drive is usually fully satisfied when the body digests food. So you may have had this experience at some point where you've chewed gum or something like that to keep from getting hungry right before dinner. It was also believed that hunger pangs were the cause of hunger. Now researchers know that hunger pains play a role in hunger, but are not the main factor in signaling hunger, since we know that people will eat even when they're not hungry. The hypothalamus is the level of sugar in the blood. The hypothalamus are key influences on the feeling of hunger. The hypothalamus is a part of the brain that regulates body temperature and various aspects of psychological motivation. Different parts of the hypothalamus control the urge to begin eating or to stop eating. In human beings, psychological as well as biological factors affect the feelings of hunger. Learning that certain amounts of food or drink will produce a feeling of well-being and relaxation can cause people to eat or drink when they feel upset. And, they talk about a lot of food being comfort food, like macaroni and cheese or chocolate or something like that. So here in your brain is the hypothalamus, and your mouth is down here. Hunger is partly driven by the physiological process. So we eat, and it satisfies us, but with this hypothalamus is driving you to do the eating. Okay. More than 6 out of 10 adults in Americans are overweight, while 3 out of 10 are obese. Obesity is when you're considered 30% greater than your recommended weight. Obese people suffer more illness than non-obese people, including heart disease, stroke, diabetes, gallbladder disease, gout, respiratory problems, and certain kinds of cancer. Okay, I've got all but 2 of those. Weight control is often elusive or more for most obese people. And causes obesity runs in families, but is not necessarily inherited. Certain genes may prevent the message of having eaten enough to reach the brain. Genes also determine how many fat cells a person has. Genes determine a metabolic rate, and psychological factors such as stress and personal circumstances such as family gatherings can increase food intake. Losing weight. Psychologists and other professionals have worked to devise strategy for weight loss. Not everyone should lose weight. A sound diet is one of them that is sensible, realistic, and well planned. Eating foods that are low fat sets a good precedent for a lifetime of healthful eating. Nutritional information is important. Exercising helps burn calories and increase metabolism. To keep weight off, many people who lose weight struggle not to regain weight. Maintaining a new, more healthy weight requires ongoing work. an increase of self-esteem, and the adoption of new lifelong approach to eating and exercising are important factors in keeping weight off. Section 3. All people seek sensory stimulation. Some people feel driven to high achievement, while people seek to balance their beliefs and actions and thoughts. Humans are motivated to be social. So the main idea of this section is that we talk about psychological motivations that include stimulus motives and achievement motivation. Several different theories attempt to explain what drives people. So at the end of this section, you should be able to answer these questions. What are stimulus motives, and why doesn't everyone have achievement motivation? What motivates people to make things fit? How does the desire for the affiliation motivate people? So stimulus motives. We experience psychological needs as biological needs. Some psychological needs motivate us to reduce tension or stimulation. Other psychological needs actually lead us to increase the amount of stimulation we experience. Stimulus motives, the desires for stimulation. Okay, so you might, for instance, the desire for stimulation might be driven by you want a thrill. You just like to get scared, so you might like to watch scary movies because it gets you your adrenaline pumping, or you might like to ride roller coasters or something like that. Sensory deprivation is the absence of stimulation. Students who were placed in a situation of sensory deprivation became bored, they became irritable, they reported hallucinations, and then they quit the study earlier. Sensory deprivation tanks are often they're water tanks that are keep your that are like at body temperature, and you just kind of float in there, and you don't really feel anything. There's no sound, and you really can't sense anything, and it's usually dark as well. And so most people really don't care for it at all. Exploration and manipulation. Most people are motivated to explore their immediate surroundings. Once people become sufficiently comfortable with the environment, they seek new stimulation. So this is, why we have explorers. Once people, they find out this new area and they explore it, they get to know it, and they want to move on and see what's over the next hill, that kind of thing. Do people and animals explore and manipulate their environment because their activities help them meet their needs for food and safety, or do they explore it simply to seek new stimulation? Many psychologists believe that exploration and manipulation are reinforcing in and of themselves. Achievement motivation. Achievement motivation is what many of you are because you're here at school trying to get ahead in life. The drive to get ahead and tackle challenging situations and meet a high personal standards of success. People with higher achievement motivation make better grades, and they make more money than others. Types of goals, their performance goals and specific goal are extrinsic rewards. If your achievement motivation is an extrinsic, it means you're motivated to get good grades, to get good income, to get prizes at school, or to get the attention of your parents, things like that. Learning goals, however, could be intrinsic. Okay, so hey, I may not be very good at this, but I want to be able to master my ability to solve the kind of math. I want to learn this about science. Even though I'm not doing, so that's what it's an achievement. So even if you're not doing well grade-wise or something like that, you still plug away with it because you want to learn how to do it, even if you don't need it. And so like we see this a lot, like in an elective class where your grade's not particularly important. But people also don't want to, or they want to know something about it. So even if they're struggling with it and it's hard. Development of achievement motivation is the attitude of parents and caregivers often play a crucial role. Parents may encourage a child to find his or her own answer and by rewarding them with good grades and punishing them with bad grades, which tends to drive them to an extrinsic motivation kind of thing. They want to be satisfied from the outside. Then there's making things fit. Many psychological needs are aimed at reducing stimulation or tension, especially in interactions with other people. These types of psychological needs are based on people's need to maintain a balance between their personal beliefs and actions and thoughts. Cognitive consistency is thinking and behaving in a way that fits what the individual believes and how others expect that individual to think and behave. Most people prefer the pieces of their lives fit together and feel better when the important relationships in their lives are stable and orderly. Balance theory suggests that people need to organize their perceptions and opinions and beliefs in a harmonious manner. They maintain a cognitive balance by holding a consistent view and having friends who hold similar views. When someone we care about disagrees with us, an uncomfortable state of the balance arises. So those of you who are familiar with what's going on in social media these days may be quite familiar with this, that you tend to have people that you agree with, and then someone pops in and starts talking about something you disagree with, and it makes it awkward because it's usually normally a friendly group, or it causes you stress because you don't want to be angry with that person. Cognitive dissonance theory, this is a real common or well-known theory. Cognitive dissonance theory, people are motivated to reduce the consistency of their thoughts and behaviors, of their thoughts and behaviors. It suggests that people having a disagreement may seek to reduce the dissonance by trying to pretend the differences between them are unimportant, or even by denying the differences even exist. So, like, for instance, if your significant other likes a particular kind of movie and you don't, you may just pretend like you don't really care about that, instead of actually saying, look, I don't like that kind of stuff. All right, theories of motivation. Theories of motivation can be grouped into two broad categories. The stimulus motivators is sensory stimulations, desire to gain experience through your senses. Activity is desire for physical movement. Exploration and manipulation is a desire to investigate the surrounding world. Achievement motivation is desire to challenge oneself to meet high standards of success. Balance theory is the coordinate internal perceptions and opinions and beliefs with those of other people. These are all reducing tension motivators. Cognitive dissonance theory is a desire to keep our thoughts and attitudes consistent with our actions. And so, we'll make up an excuse that we really wanted it that way. Affiliation is desire to join with others and be accepted by a larger group. And we often see this with people who will join in, particularly when that's a group decision. Affiliation, as we said, was the desire to join with others and be part of something larger than oneself. People make friends and join groups and participate in activities with others. We see this with sports teams all the time. Everybody joins the bandwagon for the team that's winning. Affiliation motivation helps keep people and families and groups and nations together. We try to make affiliation that we're all part of this particular group, so we're all going to pull in this together. Sometimes a strong need to affiliate may be a sign of anxiety. People who reach out to groups that they really probably shouldn't, because they need that bonding and membership in another particular group. The desire to affiliate with a group can lead people to disregard their own perceptions. So, for instance, somebody might join one of the white supremacist group, even though they have friends that are black people, just so that they belong to something. Section 4, we're going to discuss our emotions. Emotions have a biological, cognitive, and behavioral component. Facial expressions that appear to be common throughout the world. It doesn't matter about our culture or race. Race is a social construct. Remember, it's not a real thing. Psychologists have developed several different theories of emotion. Main idea, emotions are states of feelings that influence thoughts and behaviors. Facial expressions reflect our emotions. So at the end of this section, you should be able to answer what is the nature of emotion and how do facial expressions differ across cultures. What are the major theories of emotion? Emotions are states of feelings. Most emotions such as happiness or love make life worth living, while negative emotions such as fear and sadness can make life difficult. Some emotions arise in a response to a situation. Emotions have biological, cognitive, and behavioral components to them. Theories try to group emotions into different categories or to determine how many emotions there are. When it comes to happiness, William James said the motive behind everything that people do is how to gain and how to keep and how to recover happiness. People who are happy think the world is a happier, safer place and make decisions more readily and report greater satisfaction with their lives. Happier people are more likely to help others. People who feel isolated and alone tend to believe in conspiracy theories. Anger is a common response to an insult or an attack. It can make a person seem out of control. Most people get angry at an alleged offense, especially those that seem deliberate or thoughtless. Small annoyances such as a loud noise or bad odor can cause anger. Being assertive instead of hostile can diffuse that anger. People can read other people's faces and tell what emotions they are feeling by their expressions. Cross-cultural evidence suggests that facial expressions are probably inborn. Certain facial expressions seem to suggest the same emotions in all people. Smiling appears to be a universal sign of friendliness and approval, while baring teeth may be a universal sign of anger. Darwin believed that the universal recognition of facial expressions had survival value by communicating our motivations. So, according to from an evolutionary point of view, that we've all learned to express certain facial expressions as a way of letting other people know that we are a threat or not a threat, that kind of thing. So as you can see, so we see the expressions. I think it's safe to say that you could all label each one of these faces and what their expressions are. And I'd like to point out that the whole time, this whole discussion that we had, we constantly use the expression cross-cultural, not races, because race is not a thing. Okay, race is a social construct. Cultural is a thing, though. We do have different cultures, however, they are not necessarily inborn. Okay, but there are different cultures, but race is a social construct. Culture is as well, but and it tends to be people of similar genetic background, but it isn't a thing. So anyhow, opponent processes, theories of emotion. The opponent process theory is that emotions often come in pairs, with one emotion being followed by its opposite. Extreme sadness may follow extreme happiness. The common sense approach is a person quickly interprets situation, and interpretation triggers the body's sensations that signal a feeling or an emotion. The emotion in turn triggers a behavior. Most psychologists agree that thoughts, the appraisal of a situation, come before the feelings and behavior. Three important theories of emotion are the James Lange theory, the Cannon-Bard theory, and the theory of cognitive appraisal. The James Lange theory, in this goes way back to William James, the first psychologist we talked about. People's emotions follow rather than the cause of behavioral reactions. Certain situations trigger reactions called the instinctive bodily response patterns. It suggests that people can change their feelings by changing their behavior. The Cannon-Bard theory, however, suggests that emotions accompany bodily responses that are aroused by an external stimulus. Situations trigger both behaviors and emotions at the same time. The theory of cognitive appraisal suggests that all emotions have similar body response patterns and maintains the way people label an emotion depends on their cognitive appraisal of the situation. Evaluation theories. The theories of emotion are quite different from each other. It is possible that behavioral reaction pattern could come before, along with, or after an emotional response. The truth may lie in a combination of the theories. In short, people are complex thinking beings who evaluate information both from their personal situations and from their bodily responses to those situations. And so these emotional theories are very hard to measure. So here's our theories once again. The psychologists have developed these several different theories to explain the relationship between emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. The theory is named for William James and Carl Lange, who proposed similar theories about the same time. Emotions follow behavior. People change their feelings by changing their behavior. Cannon-Bard theory is the name for Walter Cannon and Philip Bard, who were psychologists. The emotions triggered by external stimuli, and emotions or bodily responses occur simultaneously. The theory of cognitive appraisal, all emotions have similar bodily response patterns, and people label their emotions based on their cognitive appraisal of the situation. So, our current research in psychology shows that evolutionary psychologists have studied what makes us do and feel the way we do, and recent studies looked at this question in reference to human evolution. Evolutionary psychology studies how our behaviors might help our ancestors survive. Psychological traits that helped humans survive and procreate, passed down to future generations. They developed the fear of the dark, taste in foods, affection for children, and play is so common that it must have some evolutionary advantage. Play helps the young develop both mentally and physically, and among social animals, play helps teach rules and establish hierarchies. Play does not end with childhood. Emotions may help people make the right decisions. And so that concludes our discussion of Chapter 13, Motivation and Emotion.